I'm the Vagabond Artist, and one of the most amazing things about living on this small Caribbean island is that daily I get to interact with some of the most intelligent beings on this entire planet. And they live in these waters right over here where I scuba dive every day. They are wild dolphins and octopus. And today I'd like to introduce you to some of my friends. I'm going to show you what it's like to swim with wild dolphins. And then I'm going to tell you the story about some amazing dolphins that really challenge our whole understanding of how they think and what decisions they should be allowed to make as opposed to humans. And then I'm going to introduce you to some of my octopus friends. When I dive out here, almost every night I find 3, 4, even 5 octopus. And I'm going to show you what it's like to swim with those octopus. But then I'm going to take it a step further. And I'm going to tell you about how humans and octopus had a common ancestor hundreds of millions of years ago. And it was a worm that couldn't even see. And how both of us, the octopus and humans, evolved to develop complex eyes and brains, and how that happened through evolution. So come along, let me show you. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Today I have wondered, are dolphins intelligent enough that we should respect their free agency? In college, one of my favorite courses was a philosophy class that asked the question, what does it mean to be human? Where is the line between us and animals? Today, I understand that was a false line to draw. We aren't a thing separate from animals. We are animals. Animals are spread across a continuum of intelligence, from slugs to skunks to crows to humans. Perhaps closest to us are dolphins, whose brain-to-body mass ratio are second only to us. I often get to swim with wild dolphins in the open ocean off our small Caribbean island. It's a magical encounter beyond the reach of most of the world's population. I have seen them be curious and playful and social, characteristics we associate with great intelligence. When my children were young, I took them to a dolphin encounter in Mexico City. The dolphins were penned in a large pool and enticed to interact with us by the promise of food. Today, we are all horrified by what we naively did. Attitudes toward dolphins in captivity have evolved. Today, we recognize animals of such intelligence should never be captive against their wills, ever. While we may accept a clownfish in an aquarium, the incarceration of an intelligent dolphin invokes images of slavery rightfully condemned. But there is a pod of dolphins in Roatan that is challenging our notions of intelligence and free agencies, and what is right and wrong. They were captured in 1989 under a permit issued by the Honduran government. Today, you can snorkel with these dolphins in a shallow bay. And although the bay is penned, there are no fish offered to entice them to interact with the humans that snorkel with them. And there are secluded areas where the dolphins can stay if they don't want to interact with humans. Their incentive to interact with humans seem to be their intellectual curiosity and playfulness. In fact, the trainers say they are more motivated by the chance to play with humans than food. It seems to be voluntary. That's very different than what I experienced in Mexico City. But a curious, playful captive is still a captive. And that's where things get complicated. About a year after they were captured, some of the dolphins escaped the pen and swam off. The researchers were sure they were gone forever. But a few days later, they swam back to the pen and waited patiently to be let back in. They had chosen their new home over the wild. And so the researchers opened the gate to the pen. The dolphins regularly go into the open ocean and are free to return or leave. And most days they come back, but sometimes they choose not to, choosing instead a vacation of sorts, and will spend a few days freely swimming the nearby depths before returning. Does that make the pen a chosen home instead of captivity? The pen offers them safety and abundant fish, and they seem to enjoy their interactions with humans just as we do our interactions with them. Are they intelligent enough to choose these things as things they want? To choose an adopted home over the wild? Or is this only the appearance of free will? Is their behavior nothing more than animalistic instincts manipulated by human conditioning? And does it matter that while some of the dolphins were born and grew up in the project, the captured ones that were born and lived in the wild in the ocean have always chosen to come back? And then there's the problem of Hans. One day the dolphins went into the ocean to play, but when they came back, the researchers realized there was an extra dolphin in the pen. A wild dolphin had followed them back home, Hans. The researchers opened the pen gates and tried to get him to leave, but Hans wouldn't. The next time the pod went into the open ocean, they thought Hans would swim away, but he didn't. He too came back, and he's come back every day since. Hans is a wild dolphin who, without any human enticement or coercion, has chosen to live in the pen. Is that free will? Are dolphins far enough along the intelligence spectrum that we should respect their ability to choose, even if they choose something other than the wild? Or should we, as humans, make a paternalistic decision that their intelligence does not rise to the level of free agency, and that we, humans, are the only beings capable of making correct choices for them, and so we must intervene? Dream and may even have nightmares. One of the great things about living on a small Caribbean island is I get to go scuba diving with octopus almost every. What you first realize is they're all different. Like most animals behave the same way, right? An elk is going to behave the same way all of the time. They don't have individual personalities, but octopus, every single one of them does. Some of them are shy, some of them are very outgoing, some of them just want to ignore you, while others come over to you and want to play with you. But what's really cool is scientists have figured out that octopus dream. It came from a study out of Brazil in May 2021, and it found that octopus will go through a dreamlike state. And just like us, they have two phases of sleep. We have REM, rapid eye movement, and non-REM sleep. They have quiet sleep and active sleep. Quiet sleep lasts in a phase of about 7 minutes, and then they go into an active sleep phase that can last about a minute. During the quiet phase, they just kind of sit there and the slits in their eyes remain steady. Their color doesn't change. But during active sleep, when they're dreaming, their eyes will move, their muscles will twitch, and their colors all over them will change dramatically. Now, because it's so short, they don't think they're having complex dreams like we do about complicated psychological things. Instead, it seems to be more that they're dreaming about being attacked or hunting. It's pretty cool. But then they found two that they appeared to be having nightmares. Now, these were older adults, so they were ending the end of their life, and they were having episodes where they were moving dramatically, jerking back and forth, and seemed to not be paralyzed like you and I would be during REM sleep. And these appeared to be having a nightmare. Now, we're not sure, though, because as I said, they were near the end of their life. Octopus don't live very long, maybe a year, 18 months for most of the types of octopus. They were at the end of it, and as they do, their nervous system begins to break down. And it's possible that it was just a breakdown of their nervous system that we were observing. Or it could actually be them having nightmares. I thought you'd like to see an octopus hunt. This is a Caribbean octopus, and we see a lot of them on our reef here in Utila. Last night we saw 4. Her bright green and blue coloring means that she's happy and content. If she were nervous, she would turn white and red. Caribbeans have a large mantle. That's that billowy webbing in between her tentacles. When she spreads it out like that, she's using it like a net to catch prey. When she has the fish, she uses the suction cups on her tentacles like a conveyor belt to move it up to her mouth, which is a beak. Her beak is the only hard part on her body. Here is Dr. Elizabeth's hand. She's placing it there, but see how she never reaches out and tries to touch the octopus? Interactions with octopus are only on the octopus's schedule. Sometimes an octopus is curious and will reach out and touch you, or even climb on your arm. This one doesn't mind us being there. She's happy, but she doesn't want to play. 80% of this octopus's brain cells are not in what we would consider its brain. Instead, it's spread out all over its body. In essence, each tentacle has its own little brain. This allows it to move independently and on its own from the rest of the body. The central brain doesn't tell it where to go. It decides. But when necessary, the central brain can coordinate all of those semi-autonomous little tentacles and have them all work and function as one. Like here, where she's grabbing more prey. I think she's absolutely beautiful.